Please welcome Haley Davison.
Hopefully I'm tall enough for this podium, if you can see me. Ooh. Thank you for that introduction. That's a big setup there. I'm sure a lot of you know loyalty very well as well. So just a quick overview of my role, because I think it's interesting. We're talking a lot about the U.S. Brands and strategies this week, but so I'm with KFC Global, and so really I'm in a role where I'm helping all of our markets around the world scale their technologies and their strategies for loyalty and CRM. So really all things customer engagement, sometimes gamification, but what I want to share with you today is like what insights we see that work across markets, across the world, and then what are some key differentiators based on culture and localized marketing. But I want to start with a true American icon, Harland Sanders, in case you haven't heard of him. Colonel, we call him the Colonel, of course. So KFC has been around for 70 years. The first, he started perfecting his blend of herbs and spices, which is a secret. I do not know the recipe. It's locked in a vault in Switzerland. I've had a lot of people ask me that this week. So he started perfecting it in the 30s, I think starting in 1930. And then he started selling it around. So the first KFC, it didn't actually open in Kentucky. It was in Salt Lake City. So you can go to it. I think some of you are going to the next conference in the area, so maybe you can stop by. I've heard it has this like old school buffet, like original OG KFC buffet. And now, fast forward to today, KFC is the leader in chicken globally. So, and it's also the largest brand under the Yum portfolio, just in terms of footprint. So, over 27,000 restaurants across the world. We're in over 150 countries. This map kind of represents where our restaurant support centers are. So, KFC Global, we're based out of Yum's office in Plano in the Dallas area, but we have restaurant support centers all over the world. And some of our markets, like the U.S., are large enough to have their own support center. That's there in Kentucky, of course. Canada has their own, but then we've also got a lot of markets that roll up under these larger business units, like Latin America and Caribbean they roll up under a business unit team that I work closely with in Miami, for example. So I just want to set the stage for you, because some of you might be wondering, like, why is KFC here talking about loyalty? They don't have a points program in the U.S., and we don't. So we have, a few markets around the world, I think 5 or 6 now, that have loyalty programs. But that's where I come in, and why my team was formed earlier this year, is to figure out what is our global POV on loyalty, what can we standardize for loyalty programs around the world, and then what are the key differentiators that markets should be, tapping into or building into their programs. So a lot of the markets that we have that have loyalty had, old school stamp-based programs. They weren't using points, economies, and of course, the stamp-based model is really only appealing to high-frequency customers. So we're finding that, they're not driving frequency or incremental visits from low and medium customers. They were rewarding behavior that was already happening, right? And then there was just a lack of appeal for these programs. It wasn't driving app downloads. It wasn't reducing churn. So what we did from a global perspective is we just said, all right, let's just start diving into all of our insights. We have a global, at Yum, we have a global insights arm called Collider. So we started doing a lot of research with them. We started doing research with all of our global agencies, looking at data, talking to our markets that have loyalty or have tested it and where it worked and where it didn't work. And so now we're putting together this global POV. So I'm going to take you through some of the insights that we've garnered so far. But first and foremost, and I think a lot of people have teed this up nicely for me today, is for us, we want the data. We want to know who our customers are. We want to know their frequency. We want to learn about their behaviors, their ordering patterns, but we need them to opt in. We need them to be known customers, right? and this is kind of new for KFC in some markets that are less mature on the digital front. So a big focus for us right now globally is building out e-commerce, building out data collection, and then also teaching. A big part of my role is going in and teaching our marketing teams how to actually use that data once they've collected it. But what we've learned across markets through our research is that consumers, they're willing to give you that data, but you have to give them something in return. And of course, it comes down to rewards, personalization. That's table stakes at this point. Even if you don't have a points program, just serving up offers that are somewhat targeted or tailored to that consumer, it makes them feel more known and valued. And then, they're willing to opt in to email or loyalty. Sorry, hang on one second. So I have 3 buckets here to take you through of these global insights that we have found are true and universal across countries. And I'm talking countries that look very different in terms of culture and consumers. We've got Middle East, US, Canada, Australia, APAC, Japan specifically has really interesting insights. But what we found is these 3 buckets have synergy between all of them in terms of what consumers expect. So one thing first, I think someone touched on this yesterday. Just after pandemic, and then we've got recession, we've got war, social impact, all of these issues that we're facing globally together, it's leading to consumers just being burned out. And little things like order accuracy and experiences in the restaurant, like something that used to just be like a little bit annoying to consumers, now it's just completely frustrating, and it's a really easy way to lose them as a loyal customer. So even the Colonel is burned out here, and our team members in the restaurants are burned out as well. So what we're focusing on is how can we ease the burden for our consumers, and then also, of course, for our team members through technology. So we used to always focus on innovating and doing disruptive things with technology, and now we're focusing more on how do we actually increase or improve ease of access and making the ordering process easier. Using technology at back of house to improve order accuracy, making sure that your chicken is hot and crispy when it comes to you. And then, of course, ultimately that leads to loyalty and retention. The next bucket is attainability. A lot of you, if you work on loyalty, you probably are very familiar with this one. I've seen it at a lot of other brands I've worked at, and I actually, it was interesting to me that this popped in all of our global research. Making rewards or offers, whatever your value offer is, even if it's outside of loyalty, consumers want it to be attainable. So I've seen this pretty much at every brand I've worked at. Even if you are making it pretty easy for your customers to get offers or rewards, they have this perception that it takes so long to earn a reward. So that's where you see a lot of fall off with customers either not wanting to join your loyalty program because they're like, oh, I don't go often enough, even if they're high frequency. They just think that it's going to take them forever to earn something. Or you have customers in the program who are just not really engaging because they think it's going to take too long. So being able to offer bonus points and welcome offers and just ways to get them to their first reward faster, that is a key mechanic that we're seeing globally. And then the last bucket here is control and choice. So in every market where we've done research, customers want control or some level of personalization in the rewards that they're seeing. So whether we kind of concept tested different ways in here, what really popped was either giving members the ability to vote for vote what they want to see in their rewards catalog, or just saying, use my data and personalize my reward offering for me because I don't want to have to scroll through all the rewards. Just show me what that I would like. And then this is something I've also seen at a lot of other brands, is they want choice, they want flexibility, so making sure you have a lot of offerings in your rewards catalog. So free food, of course, that's what they're really here for, is the free food. But putting merch in there, putting partnerships like, I don't know, an Amazon, join and you get an Amazon a free month of Prime or something like that. So just putting all these different options so you're appealing to different types of consumers. But in my personal experience, they will always go for the free food over everything, but it is good to have a variety in there to appeal to different audiences. So moving into some localized differentiators that we're seeing. Of course, you can probably guess that cultures are different. Cultural relevance, what's how your brand shows up in different countries is really important to the loyalty ecosystem that you're building. So what we're doing is we're learning from our markets that do have loyalty programs today and figuring out what works for them that maybe doesn't work in other countries, but connecting the dots for markets that are similar as they look into loyalty and enhancing CRM. So the first case study I have is the UK. I was lucky enough I was just there 2 weeks ago on a market visit. So I got to see the Rewards Arcade live. It's a super fun, just gamified loyalty program. There's no points, but they wanted a way to deliver targeted offers to customers in a really big and fun way. So they did a lot of concept testing, and this arcade, it's a chance to win program. So every time you transact as a member, you get a chance to win, and it's usually free menu items, and hopefully eventually merch. They have an awesome merch line. I wish I had some of it. This tested really well there. It's working. They're seeing frequency increase. They got a lot of buzz from it, a lot of headlines. But then we've concept tested this in some other markets where consumers just didn't think it was fair. So we see some cultural changes there where in some markets someone might say, well, I bought a meal for my family. I spent a lot more than John, who just bought an individual meal, but we have the same chance of getting the same reward. It's not fair. So this is something that might work in the UK, but it's not going to work in other markets. Then also you have legalities. This just isn't legal in some countries, so. Okay, moving on to Australia, another huge market for us. KFC is really, really strong in SOPAC. They have something called stealth loyalty. That's what they're calling it. They coined that term. They do not have a points program. They actually don't have a loyalty program. What they're doing is they're just diving in on CRM. So really, really segmented approach, but their segments are interesting. I wanted to share them as a case study because they turned their segments into personas. So they're a lot, RFM is behind this, but they're taking it a step further by looking at eating occasions and incorporating that into typical segmentation. And then they're just hitting them with very, very targeted offers through CRM. Another plug for Braze. We've been able to scale CRM to 24 markets in the last few years with Braze. So that's for us, with a lot of our markets not having loyalty yet, we're really, really leaning on CRM and advanced segmentation. So SOPAC has been doing this really well, seeing huge increases in check. They're changing some ordering behaviors with some of these key segments and increasing frequency, and they're just seeing great results with it. Hopefully we'll get them onto a points program eventually, but this is working well for them. And then my final case study, APAC. So if you show this, this is our loyalty app in Taiwan. It's called the PK app, Pizza Hut and KFC. So if you can see, there's chicken on here and pizza together. Not something you would see in the US, certainly. And if you show this to a UX UI designer here in the US, their head would explode. Like mine did when I first saw this. I sat with the APAC team and they took me through this, but this app does so well in Taiwan, and we're seeing, if you look at a lot of retail apps, popular retail apps in the APAC region, they are busy like this. They have spinning wheels and chances to win and really, really busy UI, but it does really well there. And we've seen that in the Middle East as well. Our teams in the Middle East are testing really simple, beautiful UI for their app, and then more busy designs like this, and the busy designs win out every time. So that's certainly a big one for us. Like as we look to roll out loyalty more in APAC, making sure that we give the flexibility to our markets to, use these like global insights that we have to build the foundations of their program, especially financially, like on the, making sure the programs work and are driving incremental revenue, but giving them some flexibility in terms of design, how it shows up in their market. But yeah, so that's everything I have for you.
Haley, thank you. We have time for questions of Haley. Yep, go ahead, Barbie.
But now
there
it's
you
on.
go.
Okay. So KFC, I went to Japan a few years ago, and I noticed that for Christmas you guys have a promotion in
Yes.
Japan. So I'm curious to know, like the target market, like varies by country. Is that consistent, or is that just like not consistent? Like in certain markets, is KFC seen as like a luxury item, and then here in the U.S. it's more like, like a quick thing to grab. Like, I guess, can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. To me, that's something that's been really fascinating learning, just joining the organization on the global side, because I'm used to KFC in the U.S., right? And I grew up with it. It's nostalgic to me, but I do see it as like a value brand. Like if I want mashed potatoes and gravy, that's where I'm going. But it's for that craving. In other markets, however, it's huge. Like if you're ever in Europe or in Asia, like you'll see that there's lines outside of the KFC. People are waiting for it. So there's just more eating occasions. I don't know if it's seen as a luxury necessarily in any market, but it's more of a go-to in a lot of countries. And to your question about Japan, I think that's a good one to bring up, just in terms of like cultural differences. It's a huge thing in Japan to have KFC at Christmas. So our commerce and product teams are tasked with building these. They have to build bespoke features and technology for Japan because they enable customers to pre-order KFC for Christmas. And I think the ordering starts like months in advance of Christmas. So they're going to be launching on a new commerce platform, I think, middle of next year. And a lot of the emphasis is on that bespoke technology for that ordering feature. But that, like, could you imagine that in the US? Like pre-ordering KFC for Christmas? That just would not be a thing here, I don't think. Yeah.
Dave Crocker from Dave's Hot Chicken. Hi, Haley. Hi again.
Hi again.
Question about the Australia example you gave. Where do they get all the data to do that great segmenting CRM?
Yeah,
without a loyalty program.
Yeah, so without a loyalty program, so it's all about driving opt-ins to CRM. So, and that's kind of with a lot of our markets not having loyalty yet. My big focus is really getting markets to a good place with growing their addressable audience, right, through CRM, building up the audience through acquisition, having the right mechanics within their app, their websites. So that's how SoPac is able to do it. They actually have a pretty big addressable audience without loyalty. So they're doing it all just through CRM, driving opt-ins, segmenting. They have a pretty good analytics team looking at their data, using a CDP and everything. So, and then activating through all channels with Braze. And then I think they're also working on now porting those segments over to media as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Let's do stereo.
Good job, Haley. Justin from Amazon. I had a question about that. So in terms of taking your loyalty information or your CRM data and then converting that into actual media that drives outcomes, I'm curious on two things. One, how much do you value a customer that isn't yet a loyalty customer, and what are you willing to spend, I guess, to get somebody into your CRM versus somebody that is already there and now you're going after them to convert them more?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's coming up a lot right now as we're meeting with a lot of our markets that are a little bit more mature with CRM, is now how do we take it to the next level and leverage their segmentation within media. Like we're trying to put together a model just like that right now, like at least a global perspective on that. In my past experience, I would say, like from a loyalty perspective, a lot of times, depending on the campaign that we were running, if I would work with my media team to either suppress the loyalty audience, or use them for lookalike modeling, right? To try to acquire customers that are more high value, and using the loyalty audience as a high value persona really for modeling. In other cases, for CRM, if you have really high performing segments, I think it just depends on the campaign really and the strategy that you're going after and who you're trying to reach. If it's a new audience, you don't want to spend money reaching your existing known customers, but using the propensity modeling and lookalike modeling through them. Yeah.
Haley, you started out by saying so much of this depends on getting that initial app download. What have you learned about driving downloads, and is there a diversity in strategies and tactics that work across different, both universal, but also that work differently in different markets?
Yeah, so for the most part, it's universal across markets. That's something else, like diving into what's working in different markets for like what types of offers are getting app downloads, what type of messaging, what type of campaigns. Typically, it's universal. So having some sort of welcome offer, download the app and get a free side right away. So like app exclusives, that's what we're really pushing with some of our markets. Like get an in-app exclusive, even if it's like something kind of, if you can make it buzzworthy as well, then that helps from a PR standpoint. So if it's like a new sauce, I had a really good sauce at KFC in France. It was like a sour cream and onion dip for your chicken. It was so good. So we're like, why don't you have some sort of new exclusive LTO dip that's only available when you download the app or to loyalty members. So a lot of our markets are just starting to tap into that and figuring out how they really, really drive at scale app downloads. And that's really like where my broader team comes into is helping glean those insights and share across markets what's working. But so far it's pretty universal. Yeah.
Good morning, I think. Haley, nice to meet you again. Good job. Someone asked earlier on about, golden KFC being like, it's a big thing in Jamaica. Like it really is. It's not premium, but there are certainly lines of folks who wait every day, and the price goes up, they still go. People buy buckets of it and freeze it and carry it back in their suitcases. Like it is a big deal in Jamaica. But as it pertains to the question in the immediacy, app, right? You want people to download the app. It's greater for you. You have the data.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't often go back to it. I know you have an order online solution. What kind of conversion do you see in app as opposed to people who just go to KFC.com, click order now? Are you seeing more transaction in the app or from the website?
So that's a great question. And that is, we're seeing it's different in each market, really. Some markets see really strong usage of the app, but again, it kind of goes back to, it was one of my first slides about personalization, like what you're offering in the app, like what benefits are you giving to your customers in the app to order, right? So the markets that have more mature apps and commerce platforms where they have targeted offers in the app, more personalized messaging in the app, they are seeing stronger conversion in the app. But then we also have some markets where, I think South Africa is a really good example. Data is an issue. Like a lot of consumers in South Africa can't afford data on their phones to have an app. So their WhatsApp commerce is really big. So it's all about finding ways, even if it's not through the app, like what are the other digital commerce channels that you can tap into to at least get a digital order or just get a known customer. And then I think there are some markets where ordering in store is still really big, but we're pushing kiosk there. Kiosk is huge in Europe. Thanks to McDonald's, they really changed that landscape in Europe. So when I was in France, I got to see, we did like a day in the wild and got to see like how KFC has integrated loyalty and personalization in kiosks. Burger King's doing it really well there, McDonald's. And then even like little local niche restaurants are big on, everyone orders at the kiosk. So it's all about finding those digital touch points wherever the customer is. That's a big goal for us is, how do you drive digital ordering, even if they're habitual and ordering in the restaurant?
Haley, thank you so much.